Watch the exact moment someone gets hurt and decides no one will know. It can happen in the middle of a conversation. A friend makes one small comment, a partner answers with a colder tone, someone they love forgets something that mattered, and for half a second you can almost see it. Their face stays calm, but something behind their eyes steps back. They smile a little too quickly. They say, "Yeah, it's fine." They keep the conversation moving like nothing happened, but inside, everything has changed. Their chest tightens, their throat closes, their mind starts building sentences they will never say. "I should tell them that hurt." "No, it will make things awkward." "They probably didn't mean it." "I'm being too sensitive." "Just leave it." So they do. They leave it. They swallow the sentence, soften their voice, answer the next question, and quietly move the hurt somewhere nobody can reach. And later, when someone asks, "Are you okay?" they already know the script. "I'm fine." But they are not fine. They're just fluent in disappearing without making a sound. They do not stop talking because the feeling is small. They stop talking because the feeling became too big to carry out loud. And that's the confusing part. From the outside, it can look like distance, but inside, it is usually overwhelm. Most people think people who stop talking when they're hurt are cold, passive-aggressive, emotionally unavailable, or just bad at communication. But the truth is, silence is not always a wall. Sometimes, silence is a nervous system trying not to fall apart in front of someone. And that changes the whole story. But here's where it gets complicated. When pain keeps turning into silence, people never get to know where it hurts. They only feel the distance it leaves behind. Left unspoken, that hurt slowly becomes resentment, loneliness, and the quiet belief that nobody would understand you anyway. Today, we're going to decode the psychology of people who stop talking when they're hurting, why they shut down, what it protects, and how they can come back to themselves without forcing their pain into a performance. Welcome back to Psychology Mindset. Let's begin. So what is actually happening here? Why does one person cry, explain, reach out, while another person freezes, smiles, and says, "I'm fine"? Here's the thing. For some people, silence is not a decision they make after thinking. It is the first place their nervous system runs. A lot of this has to do with emotional suppression. Simple version, the feeling is there, but the expression gets locked away. The body feels the hurt, but the face tries to stay normal. The voice stays soft, the answers stay short, the outside gets quieter, while the inside gets louder. And then there's something attachment researchers call a deactivating strategy. That sounds complicated, but it is very simple. When closeness starts to feel risky, the system protects itself by pulling away, not because the person does not care, because needing someone has started to feel dangerous. Sound familiar? Maybe they were the child who cried and got called dramatic, the child who explained and somehow became the problem, the child who learned that showing hurt did not bring comfort, it brought criticism, embarrassment, silence, or someone else's bigger reaction. So they adapted. They learned to lower the volume before anyone could turn it against them, to need less, to speak less, to hurt privately. And years later, even with someone who might actually stay, their body may still follow the old rule: do not show where it hurts. And you can usually see this pattern in 3 very specific ways. Sign 1. They disappear before they explain. Picture this. They receive a text from someone they care about. It is not cruel, it is not explosive, it is just colder than usual. A shorter reply. No warmth, no softness, just enough distance to make their stomach drop. They stare at the screen and type a message. Did I do something wrong? Then they delete it. They type another one. That felt kind of hurtful. Delete. Then they decide not to say anything at all. Why? Because asking feels too exposed. Explaining feels like begging. And needing reassurance feels humiliating before the conversation has even started. So instead of moving toward the person, they move away. They take longer to reply. They become polite. They stop sharing little details. They slowly remove the part of themselves that was hoping to be met. And that's the trap. The silence feels protective in the moment, but it also teaches the other person nothing. Nobody learns what hurt them. Nobody learns what they needed. Nobody learns that the distance was pain wearing a very quiet outfit. So the relationship continues, but with one invisible bruise nobody talks about. Sign 2. They look calm when they're actually shutting down. This is the person who can sit at the kitchen table after being hurt and look completely composed. Their partner says something sharp. Their friend dismisses them. Their family makes a joke that hits the exact old wound. And they do not yell, they do not cry. They just go very still. Their voice gets smaller. Their answers get shorter. Their face becomes strangely neutral. Yeah, it's fine. They pick up their glass even though they're not thirsty. Their eyes drop to the table. They keep nodding just enough to look present, while the rest of them quietly leaves the room. But it is not fine. Inside, their body is doing the emotional equivalent of turning off the lights one room at a time. This is why people misunderstand them, because from the outside, they look calm, mature even, easygoing, low maintenance. But sometimes low maintenance is just what happens when someone has practiced having needs in silence for too long. That calm is not always peace. Sometimes it is shutdown. Sometimes it is the moment the nervous system decides we are not safe enough to feel this out loud. And the sad part is, they may not even realize how hurt they are until hours later. It hits in the shower, or in bed, or while washing one plate at 11:43 p.m., suddenly replaying the sentence again and again. Because the feeling did not disappear, it just waited until nobody was watching. Sign 3. They secretly hope someone will notice the silence. And this is the part people rarely admit. Sometimes they pull back, and a small part of them hopes someone will come closer. Not in a manipulative way, in a tired way. They stop texting first and wonder if anyone will check in. They become quieter in the group chat and wait to see who notices. They say, "It's okay," while secretly hoping someone hears the part that is absolutely not okay. Have you ever done that? Gone quiet not because you wanted to punish someone, but because you wanted proof that your absence mattered. That is the ache underneath this pattern. The person does not always want to disappear. They want to be found without having to explain why they got lost. But here's the painful part. Most people are not trained to read silence accurately. They may assume you need space. They may think you're busy. They may believe you are fine because you said you were fine. And suddenly, the silence that was supposed to protect you becomes the thing that isolates you. You wanted someone to notice the pain, but all they saw was distance. And that can make an old belief feel true again. See? Nobody comes. So now we get to the part that actually matters. How do you speak when silence has been your safest place? The goal is not to become someone who overshares every feeling the second it appears. Privacy is not the problem. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself inside your own silence. First, send a small signal before you disappear. Not a speech, not a full emotional presentation, just one honest sentence. "I'm hurt and I need a little time before I can explain it." That one sentence changes everything. It tells the other person, this is not rejection, this is processing. Second, separate space from shutdown. Space says, "I need a moment, but I am still here." Shutdown says, "I am gone and you have to guess why." That difference matters. Taking space can be healthy. Vanishing inside yourself without a bridge often leaves both people alone. Third, name the wound before you defend against it. Ask yourself, what actually hurt? Was it the words, the tone, the feeling of being dismissed, the fear that you mattered less than you thought? You don't have to explain the whole storm, but naming the center of it gives you somewhere to begin, because pain becomes easier to carry when it stops being a fog and becomes a sentence. And when this starts to change, the goal is not to become loud. It is to become reachable. People who stop talking when they're hurting are often like houses with every light on inside, but every curtain closed. From the street, nobody knows anyone is home. But healing does not mean ripping the doors off. It means putting one small lamp in the window, a signal, a sign, a way of saying, I am still here. I just need you to knock gently. They no longer have to disappear to survive the feeling. They can stay visible enough to be loved through it. And that is the freedom. And I want to pause here for a second, because this part matters. If you saw yourself in this, if you are the person who goes quiet when your heart is actually screaming, you are not alone. You are not cold. You are not impossible to love. You learned silence because at some point, silence felt safer than needing someone. But you were never asking for too much. You were only hoping someone would stay soft when you finally told the truth. Now I want to bring this back to you. Of the 3 signs we talked about today, which one felt the most like you? Disappearing before you explain, looking calm while shutting down, or secretly hoping someone will notice the silence? Share it in the comments, because sometimes the first place we practice being honest is with people who understand the pattern. If this gave you a new way to understand yourself, like this video and send it to someone who gets quiet when they're hurting too. And if you want more conversations like this, the kind that make the quiet parts of being human feel a little less lonely, subscribe.
I'll see you in the next one.